I am Jessie Brockle, joined by the amazing Ashley Geist, and this is Counselors and Coffee Podcast. Because who doesn't love a little counseling and a hot cup of coffee? We created this space with connection in mind and love exploring topics involving self-growth and wellness. Welcome to a space dedicated to learning and growth, a soft place to land, and a sturdy place to climb. Although we work hard to bring inspirational, educational, and impactful information to you, it does not in any way take the place of counseling or dictate a clinician-client relationship. This podcast is for enjoyment, and we encourage you to consult a professional if needing specific services. Hello, listeners. Happy December. I am Jessie, and I'm going to be going solo for this episode, but no worries. Ashley will be back in action with us next month. We have a really big treat for you today. Cherri Hildebrandt, an extraordinary woman who has worked in healthcare all of her life and who happens to be my amazing mom, is going to share her experience in navigating retirement. So you guys get two perspectives today. One from Cherri, who is walking through retirement, and one, well, from me, a family member supporting her mama through that process. I used to look at retirement with such a different lens than I do today. As a young woman, I used to idolize retirement. You imagine nothing but financial stability, travel, and time. The opposite of what most of our early and middle age experiences are. But throughout my work in mental health and in the experience of watching my mom navigate the transition to retirement, I know that it is so much more than that. It is often a complex and sometimes anxiety-producing event in our lives. Please help me in welcoming Cherri to the episode.
Hello, this is Cherri. I'm glad to meet everybody out there, although it's really kind of over the podcast. But anyway, thank you, Jess, for that great introduction. I like the part about amazing mom. Yeah.
So, Mom, to start out, can you share a little bit about yourself, your career, and what you enjoyed most about your work?
Sure. I have been an oncology nurse for almost 40 years, and it has been the most wondrous experience of my life, besides having my two great children. Had to stick that in there. Most of the time, what I enjoyed most about my career was the patients. The people I worked with all had cancer or some form of terminal disease, and they were so appropriate in how they looked at it, and the perspective that they gave me as a nurse made a huge impact on my life. I always had looked forward to retirement, but come to find out, it's not as great as it seems.
So tell us a little bit about what prompted your decision to retire. How did that come about?
Well, it came about because I physically had a problem with my back, and it was totally due to nursing, transferring patients, bending over, all that sorts of things. So I had to have back surgery, which I thought I would be breezed through and continue with my career. Well, surprise, surprise. Unfortunately, I had a little bit of a slowdown after I had my back surgery and realized that I was not able to serve the patients as well as I should. So that kind of gave me the impetus to try and retire, which I did at 65. At first, going into retirement, all I could think of was, oh my God, I get to sleep in. This is so great. And then I thought, all those books I've always wanted to read, that's what I want to do. The truth about going into retirement is that you never, ever expect what you get.
So you definitely had kind of a different experience than we think is typical of retirement. You work, you kind of make the decision to retire, you have a plan, it kind of unfolds the way you think it's going to. in your case, that's not at all how it happened. Was it challenging and did it complicate the idea of retirement, knowing that in some way, shape, or form it wasn't really a choice that you got to make?
Well, in a way, probably I felt like that, but I guess um, my biggest fear was not being able to work financially, physically, and being a nurse was what I was all about. And not being able to do those kinds of things did make it difficult to transition. I was not unhappy to retire, but I wasn't happy to retire. My mom is over 80 and she worked until she was 70 and I wanted to beat her, unfortunately. So basically, my attitudes towards and my perspective towards retirement have changed completely since the day I retired. I have to say that.
So, since retiring and the journey that you've been traveling, what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced during that transition?
That's a great question. The challenges that really hit me hard was um, that I was no longer a young chicken and I couldn't do the things I wanted to do, go for walks, travel, all that kind of stuff. Um, However, I came to realize that retirement is about me and my wanting to choose things to do became limited because I didn't have the patient count. So I had my family, but and it was great. I loved being with my kids and my ex-husband. And so, I kind of felt like I'll fall into that place. But all the while I'm wondering how do I prove that I'm a productive person? How do I show the world that I am important? Um, I did get, after I retired, I was off of work for quite some time, about 3 months. And that was in June. In September, I decided I was going to try and find a job, and I did. I worked as a cashier 3 days a week, for mornings, and it was enough to make me feel connected to the community. It was enough I was getting paid, although it wasn't as much as I made as a nurse. It was still something that needed to be done. So that helped me for a long time. Um, and that made me realize that I really had to slow down and take a look at my life and take a look at what I was doing and what I needed to change. One of the biggest challenges was coming up with a routine. I was so used to getting up at 4:30, getting ready and going to work from 6:30 till 6:30. Or when I worked at the chemotherapy department, I only worked 8 to 5. But um, it seems to me that the more I worked, the better I felt about myself, which was also a detriment to my family because I worked all the time. And I kind of missed out on a lot of the kids' stuff, which made me sad. And so for a while, I kind of had a little pity party about how I couldn't, I couldn't be as good as I once was. However, I come to realize I can be as good as I once was. It's just different.
I love how you really, in just the last couple of sentences, just really talked about moving through the transition and all those kind of emotions that come up of who am I, now what, and then being able to kind of circle back and be able to kind of ground yourself in kind of finding a new purpose and reevaluating what that is for you. Um, So, sidestep a little bit because you mentioned something before that I think our listeners want a little bit more information about. Because you talked about spending time with your ex husband. And one of the things, so guys, this is my mama. So, you and your ex husband, my dad, have such a unique relationship. You guys, throughout our whole lives, have had such a unique connection. And I think our family is really unique in that way that you guys have co parented. Tell me a little bit about that relationship and how you guys were able to make it so unique.
Well, um, we got it. My ex-husband and I got very married very young, and which there's nothing wrong with that. We were happy. We had a great time. We were married for about 11 years, and the kids, we just always focused on the kids. It was always about the kids. When we broke up and I went back to, or when we broke up and I went back to school, the kids stayed with him, but I came home on the weekends. We always have had such a great relationship. He's my best friend. Right now, he's still my best friend. And I know I could call him at any time and say, help me do this, or can you help me, or whatever. And yeah, I probably should use can because the other way is kind of bossy. Um, but we get along really well. We've gone on vacations together. We have celebrated parties together. Uh, we just worked together, and I think that was huge. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
I love that about you guys. And I think that, anybody listening who has ever gone through the loss of a relationship or, a family separation, it is hard to co parent. And I think that's one of the things that makes both of you so incredibly amazing. And I also think that, as we age and we get older, he's also been a really solid, stable piece for you. How has having people or your support system around you, how has that impacted your transition through retirement?
Um, at first, I really isolated myself, which was my own fault because I thought, oh, you just think to yourself, I'm no good anymore. I can't work. I can't, I can't get up and make a meal, and it's hard for me to drive. I could find all sorts of excuses to stay home and watch TV. Well, after a while, Dr. Phil and the Hoarders just does not cut it. And so, more recently, that took a while to get over that isolation. And with my daughter Jess helping me and a therapist, and my family doctor, we all kind of, I think we all kind of thought, okay, we need to get out and do things. We need to be accountable for our own actions, not just sit home and feel bad for ourselves. And I think I've been getting out more now, which it's easier for me now because I am past rehab and I can walk more and I can do things and I still drive. My family was always there. Just after I got out of the hospital with my back surgery, Jess was the one that got me a high-rise toilet. Thank you very much, Jess. And I also got a walker and a cane and some things through a company here in town that bars for the bathtub, safety items that I could use. I found a lot of support and really am just kind of realizing how much support I had. At first, I thought, oh, nobody likes me. Everybody hates me. Guess I'll go eat worms. But that wasn't true. They were all rallied around me. Even, and my ex-husband came to pick me up from the hospital, sent me flowers. And so life was closed in on me, but I didn't recognize that. And So it's an evolution of trying to break out of that isolation shell, which I encourage everybody to do. If you just sit and watch Dr. Phil, I'm sorry, you're going to have a bad retirement.
Being in the service industry, and I think that I resonate with this a lot because it's the same industry I'm in, is client care, right? Patient care. And your patients and your clients mean so very much to you. It's such a big piece of your identity. What was it like shifting from always taking care of others to kind of now focusing the attention on yourself and self care and building a life that you can be proud of without that identity of a nurse?
That's a good one. It's taken a while because I focused so much on my life being a nurse, and unfortunately, that really blinded me to what is possible. And I think the things that you just grow, you just find routines that you can follow and make a plan. Get up in the morning, just to do something. Um, I think that's it on that.
So, speaking of routines, I know firsthand that it's difficult to create new routines, to create consistency. What kinds of routines were you able to create to be successful, to kind of have quality of life? And how did you get the motivation to start building those?
Well, in the big thing for me when I retired was I had to have a new routine. I was so used to getting up early and working all day and getting home. And so it took me a while. The first week or two, I probably slept till noon every day. However, then and I would get up and then I would just sit there and watch TV. Where now I look at it as I get up in the morning, I watch the news because I want to know what's going on in the world. Then I get up and I do stuff around the kitchen, or if the plants need watering, there's always something to do. Or if a closet needs cleaned out, I can sit on a stool and clean out a closet. It makes me feel good that I'm taking care of my home. And I think that that morphed into taking care of myself because I realized I can't take care of my home unless I can take care of myself. So I did start eating better. I did start um, doing more walking. I got some walking sticks, and um, my parents were always in the back of my mind. I'm thinking, I have to do this for my parents, but also for my kids and my ex husband. I'm more than just a sit at home, watch TV person. I also like to plan a day or 2 days, however I feel, um, on reading. And lately I've been into the Holocaust. So I have found so many documentaries and so many books on the Holocaust written from a fictional point and from nonfiction. And then after I was done, I got to share those books with others. So I think that just being aware that, yeah, I can get in my car and I can go down to the drive-in, or I can go to the library, or I can, not that I ever have, but uh, and I can go exercise. So I think just each day is kind of a new experience, but I definitely have to watch the news in the morning just to find out what's going on. After all, I like Mike Tyson, but
Have you had any new interests or hobbies since you've retired that you've started?
um really not many. My daughter and granddaughters came over and planted plants for me, so now I am a plant person, which before I look at plants and they die. They check on me all the time, making sure I'm walking or um, watering the plants. Let's see what else. And like I said, reading is my major attraction. That's what I love to do. And I don't know. I went to a program yesterday, and the senior citizens here has a yoga experience every or on days. So I've been thinking that maybe I'll try yoga. And Jess has an exercise room here, so I certainly can come out here and exercise as well. It's a matter of keeping yourself motivated, not sinking into that hole of self-pity.
How has your social life changed during retirement?
I'm not sure what you mean by social life.
So, connections, especially working in the field that you were in, you had lots of human contact, lots of human interaction. And from talking before, you said that retirement was kind of isolating. So, how has your social life changed? How do you try and maintain those connections through retirement?
Um, my social life. Well, actually, after my back surgery and probably through that whole summer, which is 3 years ago, I had no social life. I just stayed at home and tried to rehab, tried to make sure I was doing the right things. I did make trips up to northern Minnesota where my parents are. And unfortunately, I kind of got caught up and did not motivate myself as much as I should to get out and see other people and do other things. And two, I went through a period where I wasn't eating, I was having some problems, and I ended up in the hospital. I was there for about 4 days, and while I was there, I realized I am not this old. How can I feel this way? And so my main since that hospitalization, my main um, social life has been going out with my kids, taking Jennifer to appointments. I have met new people, and I worked at Merkel's for almost a year. So that was kind of what my social life was.
So, what kind of advice would you give someone who is approaching retirement?
I would say it's not what you think. Don't expect anything. Just roll with the tide. Just roll with it. Deal with each thing as it comes up. And then you don't have to think about retirement as a huge thing. It's just one day at a time, the same way it was when I was working. You just get up and you do things, and you do things that you really like. And there are also some things you really don't like, but you just understand that your life is not over, even though you think it might be. It is not. And feeling feeling good about yourself is half the battle.
Are there any common misconceptions about retirement that you think should be addressed?
Probably that retirement is, and this could be for some people. I don't mean to denigrate anybody, but most people think, well, that's the time when I'm going to enjoy my money, go on trips, do things that you've always wanted to do. And a lot of people are like that. They do. There are other people that can't do that, that have a force around them that makes them think that they don't deserve that. Well, they do. And I guess that is the biggest misconception, is that retirement's going to be great. No, probably not. Retirement's going to be awful. No, probably not. So you just have to roll with the punches. And I think that's probably my best advice.
So, looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently before retiring?
Well, if I would have had the opportunity, and my back would have been okay, I would not have had back surgery. And I would still be working today because I loved what I did and it was my identity. So a lot of the going through the motions of retirement was finding out that that wasn't my only identity. I had plenty of others, not in a bad way. But um I don't know if there's, you know, if I could have, I would have liked to have worked longer, which kind of sounds silly now because I think, oh my God, when are you going to have time to do anything if you work all your life? Um, but like I said, that was almost a given that I wanted to work all my life. Um, so I think that's about it.
It sounds like your career has been very important to you and really helped to shape the life that you've built. What are your plans for the future? Any goals that you're excited to pursue?
Well, I'd like to go to Iceland, but I'm kind of ruling that out. Actually, my goals for the future is maintaining a good, healthy lifestyle, getting to walk better than I do now, maybe even getting to jog a little bit, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. Um, I'm going to travel and see my brothers and sisters, and I'm really looking forward to Christmas time because I'm going back to see my mom and dad. I haven't seen them in over a year, and I'm going to spend a month up there, up at Duluth. So in as the weeks go on, I'm finding there's more and more things to schedule. And so I have actually had to start writing down my appointments because I can't remember them. I have to put them in my book. But yeah, and just trying to be happy and enjoy my life.
Well, Mom, I sit in awe of you all the time because of your dedication and to serving the communities, the work that you did, and just the role model that you've been for me and Jen, my sister. Um, it's amazing. And I hope you look back throughout your life and you know that the things that you did mattered and changed the world in which we live. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mom. I hope that you will come back at some point and maybe have some more conversations about all these exciting goals you have planned. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next month.